Ladies and gentlemen, Saudi Arabia and OPEC have just made a new massive announcement that could potentially change everything in the macroeconomic environment and what's going to happen in the market. So what exactly did Saudi Arabia announce and why is it so important? Well, that's exactly what we're going to go over in today's video, ladies and gentlemen. Let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into the news, the facts, and the data. Well, look at this around. This is big. Oil prices rise after Saudi Arabia pledges more voluntary production cuts. Now, the reason why this is so big is because this is going to lead to higher and stickier inflation. And when we got this news, the dollar jumped and also the 10-year US Treasury jumped. Look at this. So we can see here the DXY jumped from around 104.08 and it spiked all the way up to 104.39. Also, the 10-year US Treasury yield all of a sudden spiked to 3.76, but we're seeing some very unusual activity right now, and it's all of a sudden plummeted to 3.69. So listen to this. On Sunday, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and its partners, known as OPEC, made no changes to its planned oil production cuts for the rest of the year. However, the top oil exporter who we have to pay attention to, Saudi Arabia, announced further voluntary output cuts which will be implemented from July. And this was announced right before the Federal Reserve is going to make their decision on whether they're going to lift interest rates in June or not. Now, a lot of people are saying there's no way that's going to happen. There is a chance, yes, it's more likely that they're going to pause, but something I'm very, very worried about is I'm worried about that the central banks know if they do 1 or 2 more interest rate hikes, the banks are going to crash and crash big, and they know there's going to be some kind of financial crisis, so they're not actually going to do what it takes to bring inflation down. Inflation is going to go higher for longer. We could possibly see a scenario like Argentina, Turkey, for example, even Lebanon, where the US dollar's purchasing power continues to fall. So you're definitely going to need to protect yourself against this possible scenario, a possible market melt-up. And what people have done every single time their currency started to fail or lose value, they've run to gold, silver, and Bitcoin. And just very quickly, everyone, this is the last week for the pre-sale for the Golden Path to Wealth, Mastering the Trinity Portfolio. Next week, the price will be going up. It's only $149. I'm practically giving the course away because most YouTubers charge $400 to $500 for this course. So again, for a thank you to my loyal subscribers, I'm only doing it for $149, but as more content gets added, we're almost finished the first module, the price will be increasing. But let's go back to this story. The kingdom's output will decline to 9 billion barrels per day from around 10 million barrels in May, Saudi's energy minister said in a statement. So for those of you that don't know, OPEC pumps approximately 40% of the world's crude, and policy decisions can have significant impact on prices. Now, what you need to know is oil is a fuel for the world. It's not just petrol prices or gas prices that go up because of oil prices going up. Also, transportation gets more expensive. Also, food gets more expensive because farmers have to use this fuel that gets more expensive to work on their farm, and they pass those costs on. It leads to more expensive flights, more expensive holidays. It flows to every aspect of your spending. Now, also, many people were caught off guard by this or surprised by this, but I wasn't surprised at all. On April 3rd, several producers of oil cartel had revealed a combined 1.66 million barrels per day of production declines until the end of the year. And many market watchers, including analysts at Goldman Sachs, had expected the alliance to keep output unchanged this time around. They said this weekend marked an ultimate failure of the Saudis to marshal together all the OPEC members to undertake what was required to bring better prices into the market. But people, this just may be the first of many cuts, and if Saudi cuts and, for example, the price of oil doesn't go up to the price they want, we may see more nations follow suit. And now the US and the world is getting very upset. It once again demonstrated that Saudi Arabia is willing to act unilaterally to stable oil prices, McNally said, citing the example of 2021 in January when oil titan unilaterally cut production by 1 million barrels per day. They said, "We see large global deficits materializing in the second half of 2023 and crude prices exceeding $100 next year." People, this is absolutely massive. If oil goes back up to $100 again, we're going to see inflation spike yet again. And a lot of people think it's over. They think the Federal Reserve is done with lifting interest rates, and that's why the market's rallying right now. But I think reality is about to hit, and if the Federal Reserve doesn't do what they're meant to do to lift interest rates to stop this inflation, well, guess what? Your purchasing power is going to go down, and the dollar is going to go down, and that's why you're going to need gold, silver, and Bitcoin and investment strategy to protect yourself. Because gold and silver throughout history has always survived where fiat currencies have failed. Not 90% of the time, not 95% of the time, 100% of the time. They estimate that the significant rise of global oil demand in the Northern Hemisphere summer season will lead to an oil inventory draw and support higher prices over the coming months. The fact that Saudi Arabia is willing to shoulder it alone adds to the credibility of cut and signals real barrels coming off the market. However, others have not viewed the kingdom's move with much optimism. And Commonwealth Bank of Australia is of the view that Saudi Arabia will extend July's production cuts if Brent futures remain in the $70 to $75 barrel range. So everyone, I know what you're thinking, well, okay, what does all this mean in simple terms? Well, what this means, we're in limbo, I think, in the markets right now. A lot of the market bulls are getting over optimistic, but they're still not 100% sure, are we back in a bull market? A lot of central banks are declaring victory on inflation, but we still have multi-decade high inflation numbers, and we don't know if there's going to be some kind of black swan event that's going to ignite inflation again. And also what's leading to the uncertainty is central banks are not being clear. They're saying interest rates are significant enough to bring inflation down, but hey, if new data comes out and inflation's high, we'll act on that, we'll use our tools. They're not being clear at all, and they're sending the market mixed messages. So this is how I'm preparing for both scenarios, everyone. If inflation does get higher and central banks need to lift interest rates even higher to bring inflation down, that's going to cause a recession. If a recession hits, companies' earnings are going to fall, and we're going to see a huge flight to safety to assets like gold. Gold's prices being heavily suppressed, and a lot of people are selling off gold because they think a recession isn't going to come, and they're all running to the FOMO of AI stocks. So we have a recession right when stocks are severely overvalued with this AI hype, and means the stock market crash is going to be even worse. But again, I'm not oblivious to the other scenario. What if central banks don't do what it takes to bring inflation under control? What if they let inflation run rampant, or even change the way they record inflation and we get a market melt up? Well, that's also why I've got a bit of Bitcoin in my portfolio, because normally what we see when we study the cycles, and this is what I go over in my course, when the stock market rallies, Bitcoin tends to follow, but it does outperform the stock market. And in times of turmoil and currency devaluation, people not only flock to gold, but they flock to Bitcoin as well. But everyone, what do you think about all of this? Do you think inflation's over and this is a nothing burger, or do you think we're going to see inflation spike again? And what do you think the Federal Reserve is going to do at their June meeting? Now, for all my loyal viewers and subscribers who are watching, you're awesome. Again, if you want to get that course, just click the link in the description or the pinned comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.